When global airline leaders gathered in New Delhi for the IATA annual general meeting early this year in June 2025, India was projected as the future engine of global aviation growth. Well, rising passenger numbers, a fast expanding airport network and massive aircraft orders made one thing very clear, that India was no longer a peripheral aviation market but in fact central to global airline strategies. But as the year unfolded, 2025 became a stress test, showing how rapid growth can strain systems if capacity, safety and regulation don't keep pace. Passenger demand in fact stayed strong. India remained among the world's busiest aviation markets, with domestic and international travel continuing to rise. In the first 7 months of FY 2026, domestic passenger traffic almost crossed 94 crore trips, while international passenger traffic on Indian carriers grew nearly 6% year-on-year by September. India also expanded its bilateral air travel rights with Gulf nations like that of Kuwait, increasing seat capacity on high-demand routes, which is a clear signal of sustained outbound and inbound travel growth. But confidence took repeated hits. And let's not forget, the biggest shock came in June, with one of India's deadliest aviation accidents in a decade. Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, crashed shortly after takeoff from Ahmedabad en route to London. 260 people were killed, including 19 on the ground. Only one passenger survived. Preliminary findings pointed to an engine fuel cutoff shortly after liftoff, leading to loss of thrust and impact near a college hostel. Flight recorders were recovered, but the final cause remains under investigation. The tragedy renewed scrutiny of maintenance practices, pilot training, regulatory oversight, along of course with authorities stepping up checks in the months that followed. Later in the year, the spotlight shifted from safety to that of operations. Well, this is just latest, but in December, India's largest airline, Indigo, was hit by severe disruptions after the new DGCA pilot duty norms and rest rules came into force. Thousands of flights were cancelled over several days, stranding passengers nationwide and exposing crew shortages and fragile rostering systems across the sector. Regulators and government authorities intervened as the chaos highlighted a deeper issue, which is airlines expanding fleets faster than manpower and planning systems. The airline expects operations to stabilize by early 2026, but the episode raised uncomfortable questions about preparedness. Safety concerns widened further with cyber and navigation risks. It was in the month of November the government confirmed the incidence of GPS spoofing at major airports, including that of New Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru. GPS spoofing is a form of cyber interference where false navigation signals are transmitted, potentially misleading aircraft systems about location or altitude. While flights continued safely, the disclosure added to anxiety, coming just weeks after a separate technical failure at Delhi airport linked to the AMSS disrupted flight operations. At the regulatory level, pressure mounted on the watchdog itself, which is the DGCA. In fact, a parliamentary standing committee warned that staffing shortages and lack of autonomy at DGCA posed a serious threat to aviation safety. Nearly half of the regulator's sanctioned post remains vacant, even as India manages to be one of the fastest growing aviation markets globally. So what does 2025 tell us? That India's aviation growth story is real, it's irreversible, of course driven by demand, connectivity and ambition. But caution, this year made one thing equally clear. Infrastructure, safety systems, cyber resilience, manpower planning and regulatory capacity must grow at the same pace. Because as India prepares to fly higher, resilience, not just expansion, will decide how safely it gets there.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.